All right, good morning, good evening, good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, citizens of YouTube. This is Pastor Dow. While I'm not usually the one, or let me say, I'm constantly criticized by a very small minority group of people of instilling and inciting racism in some of my videos, which, if you've listened to me any length of time, if you followed me on this YouTube page, or even if you follow the ministry, you'll know how absurd and outlandish those type of comments are, simply because I just state facts about things. I just simply don't make up stuff in order to appease a certain group of people. But I'm actually speaking from truth and knowledge, which this country is void of, and most of the people in this country is void of. But we all have to understand that there are issues that are literally personal to the hearts of many people when you hear certain things. For instance, I understand and I comprehend very well that if you start talking about certain subjects, immediately something is going to rise up in the heart. And what I try to do is get people to understand, you pay attention to those feelings and those emotions that rise up, because they have been ruling, controlling, and dominating us for a very, very long time. And a lot of time we respond from emotion without comprehension. We respond from emotion without really truly understanding. I think one of the greatest problems in this country is our inability to be able to put ourselves in the shoes of others and be able to look through the lenses or through the eyes of others' plight. And with all that said, trying to do my best to recover some people, and of course some people are just, they're just going to be what they're going to be, and that's all there is to it. But that's totally irrelevant. I understand and I comprehend very well that the majority of people that listen to my channel are a very intelligent audience. In case you haven't realized, probably here and within the last month or so, I probably have, banned, blocked maybe over 500 people easily, because I don't have time for ignorance. Ignorance destroys. You understand that, right? But the nature of this video here is something that is constantly being swept under the rug here in the United States of America. And you need to understand the facts and know the facts of this. America is 70% Caucasian, white. I think it's 10 or 11% black. And I think it's like 15% Hispanic. And then others fill in the gap from there. So, with that said, all right, let's go ahead and deal with facts, not feelings, not emotions. Let's just deal with some facts here, okay? What we have is we have a black man. And let me say this before I go forward. The UN, the United Nations, and the rest of the world, when they are able to peer into America with their eyes, meaning from the outside looking in, and then they bring their experts from the outside looking in, and they see how the rest of these Western nations are running, they have scathing indictments of America, which, watch this, you'll never, ever, ever see these type of reports on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. Well, let me just go ahead and say in the mainstream news media. Hey, the truth is, you would hardly ever even hear or see this type of report even in alternative news media, because I understand and I comprehend, as well as everybody else, that racial tensions are running very high in this country, which I actually think that it's something that the powers that be are inciting. But that's neither here nor say. I mean, after all, I am entitled to my opinion, just like everybody else is, but we are not entitled to our own facts. So with that said, I'm going to state facts. I'm going to stick with the facts, and no matter how painful that the facts are, the news is, I'm going to go ahead and report this, because you need to know. You need to know. There's a black U.S. citizen. that actually went to the Canadian government looking for asylum, looking for refugee status because of all of the police brutality, the disproportionate incarceration of blacks in this country. And most people will say, well, if black people would stop doing certain things, then they would not be thrown in jail. Now, the truth is a fact that, especially in the South, when blacks do something, they get definitely disproportionate justice because I comprehend and understand that we're still on the plantation. They have given us what they call this ideal that we are the land of the free and home of the brave. But the truth is, blacks are still in slavery in this country. Do we have certain freedoms and certain liberties that are attributed to us? Do the powers that be actually select certain Illuminati type blacks and then put them up and trying to say, see, you can succeed if you follow the mode of capitalism like anybody else? Sure they do. But this is from a couple of reports, and you can go on Google and see it, because when I heard this man say this, I personally never heard of it, really. I never heard of it. Who in the world would think that a black person would go to Canada, whose policy is somewhat similar to the United States of America, and look for refugee status because of the disparity and the police brutality and the disproportionate injustice? There ain't no justice going on that is taking place here. And of course, we can go on and on and on and on. Social media network and social media news is actually a benefit, because if it wasn't for these cell phones right here, a lot of things that are being brought to the forefront about this so-called justice system here in America simply just would not be. So this has become a weapon greater than guns. And you know what? Soon you're going to see them making laws against actually filming so-called law enforcement officials. And I use the word so-called because they're not defending the law, especially natural law, common sense. But let me get going. There's a black man that is seeking refugee status in Canada. He's a U.S. citizen, and he's arguing. He's going over to Vancouver. He actually talked to some of the actual officials there, because he says that black people are being exterminated at an alarming rate in the U.S. And mind you, most of you that live up north, most of the white people that live up north, you would not even have a clue to what actually takes place in the South. It's just a literal fact. And that's why a lot of times when I get on here and start talking about something like this, it's hard for people to see, because you are giving an opinion based on your environment, but not down here in the South. That's why if we could all exercise some form of self-autonomy, then we could actually really truly see the facts for what they are. But I'm looking right here, and I'm actually going to include a couple of links down here to save you some keyboard time right here. But it says, look at this. UN committee condemns U.S. for racial disparity and police brutality. And I can go on and on. And it says that the United Nations Committee on the Elimination of Racial Discrimination, CERD, has published a scathing report analysis the current state of racial justice in the United States, citing August 9th shooting of 18-year-old Michael Brown, an unarmed black teenager in Ferguson, Missouri, and the rise of stand your ground laws. The committee expressed deep concerns about the ways in which the American justice system handles racially charged events. And of course, you can read the rest of the article down there. In other words, the world is not blind. The world is not totally oblivious to what is taking place here in this country. Being 10% of the population, the voice is this small. And the system is just simply never has been and never will be for us. History is proof in itself. There's not equality. I don't care how much you want to dress it up. It's just simply not so. It's simply not so. So I'll include this down below, but this is something that needs to be reported because you have to deal with facts. Now, what is it about the United Nations? Because you think about it, America don't care nothing about the United Nations. America, no matter what, you would think before you go into sovereign countries and start blowing the hell out of that country and killing hundreds upon millions of innocent civilians, that if you're part of the UN General Assembly, that you would actually wait to get approval from the UN before you start going in and blowing the hell out of other countries. See, America, being the world's long superpower, is flexing its military muscle and might. And whenever the UN or anybody else in the world totally disagrees with our policies, we just say, to hell with you. We're going to do what we want, i.e. Iraq, i.e. Afghanistan. And look at this. If you and I had done something or even made such a mistake in overlooking something, not having the oversight that we should have, as Hillary Clinton has done in this Benghazi situation. And I'm going to tell you right now, nothing is going to happen to her at all because she is part of the good old boys club. You understand what I mean? Nothing's going to happen to her. When you're watching the Senate up here so-called grilling them, it's all theater. It's just like when WWE, when they get out there and they start wrestling, they are enemies and they hate each other. But then behind the scenes, they go have cocktail parties. They go out to the restaurants and the bars and they're total friends. But in front of you is why it's called entertainment. And nothing is going to happen to Hillary Clinton. But if you and I had the same thing that's going on, hey, I'm telling you, justice is definitely disproportionate. We will not get off. I mean, look at Eric Holder, Fast and Furious. Why Eric Holder? Why is it that Eric Holder is not in the lowest part of some damn jail or cell or hole? Why? Obama, why is he not impeached for funding ISIL, which the Russian President Vladimir Putin has actually done all but eliminated? That threat that we've been duping. See, American public, I still don't get it. I never will get it. I never will understand. We are 360 million people, and yet we are being ruled and controlled and dominated by less than 1% of the population of the world. And then those of us who are looking for a song and a dance, a paycheck, we'll go join Edward Longshank's system. And then we'll become oppressors because the powers that be, that has the Federal Reserve notes, has given us authority to oppress the very people that we should be supporting and defending. I tell you, it's just sad what happens with us as a people. It really truly is how that they have manipulated and coerced these minds so much. It's ridiculous. You can know a person's heart and what's in it by what comes out of their mouth. I'm reporting on this because, for the mere fact, show me one news source, mainstream, that has reported the condemnation, the scathing condemnation that the UN General Assembly has actually given to the United States of America because of their brutality, of their disparity, of their disproportionate injustice, and the unlawful of incarceration of the blacks here in America. All I'm doing is stating facts. That's all I'm doing. It's a sad situation when we are so blinded that if the same thing had happened to us, we will want somebody to be, or at least have some form of empathy and exercise some form of sympathy for our plight. But every time you start bringing it up and you start stating facts with people in this country, the very thing that condemns them in their heart, they attack you with. You're a racist. Well, you're entitled to your opinion, just like I am mine. But remember, the truth is, my people in this country, we never had freedom of speech. I can go back and show you in the Constitution where those men at that time that you believe to be so holy and righteous only considered us 3/5 human. Have they ratified, amended, and changed a few things? Sure they have, but the bottom line is you can ratify and amend and change things, but still in function, still operate and believe the same way. And it's just what's happening. It's painful, but it's truthful. And I think it's a sad, sad day in this country right here when we just simply cannot acknowledge the truth because our heart is so hardened in certain areas because we simply don't want to accept the fact because we want to insulate ourselves from any type of condemnation. I'm going to tell you right now, if my people do something wrong, I get on this YouTube video and I report it. If another people do something wrong, I report it as well. I report the things that really have a lot of impact and that will influence us as a people, be it healthy or unhealthy, because you have to be able to know what's going on and have knowledge of it in order to know how to navigate and behave in the midst of a wicked and perverse generation. I'm going to include a few links, but all you have to do is go to Google and it'll pop up news source after news source after news source after news source after news source. And I still ask myself the question, why is it that when I go to Canada, I can get Al Jazeera News on my computer, but here in the United States of America, freedom of press and all this other stuff, Al Jazeera is blocked and banned.